Welcome back to AI Explained. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. So for today's deep dive, you guys sent in some fascinating research from Amazon Web Services and Telecom Advisory
Oh,
Services.
yes, those are good ones.
They are. And they're all about the potential economic impact of cloud computing in AI. We're talking trillions of dollars added to the global GDP over the next few years.
Trillions.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you start to look at the numbers. One of the reports projects that cloud computing alone will go from contributing a little over $1 trillion in 2023 to over $12 trillion by 2030.
Wow, that's a massive jump. I think it's easy to hear GDP and not really grasp the significance. So can you break down what that actually means in the real world? What does it look like when cloud computing has that kind of impact on GDP?
Sure. Well, GDP represents the total value of all the goods and services a country produces, right?
Right.
So when cloud computing contributes that much to GDP, it basically means it's enabling a massive surge in economic activity. Think of it as the foundation for a whole waves of new businesses and industries. Okay, that makes sense. But the thing is, it's not just cloud computing itself that's driving this growth. There's this whole other layer, this AI layer, built on top of it. And that's also poised to have a huge economic impact.
Exactly. The study predicts that AI, powered by the cloud, will generate an additional $1.5 trillion in global GDP by 2030. AI is so powerful because it's not just a cool technology, it's really a fundamental shift in how we do things. Think about it. Tasks can be automated, processes become incredibly efficient, and innovation just explodes.
Yeah, and it's already impacting us more than we probably realize. I was reading that article you sent, and I was actually surprised by how much cloud computing already influences our daily lives. We don't even think about it.
It's true. All those things we take for granted, like streaming services, online shopping, even just hopping on a video call, none of that would be possible without cloud computing doing its thing in the background.
It really is mind-blowing. And the study gets even more interesting when you see how it breaks down the potential economic impact by region. The numbers are staggering. For example, in 2023, the U.S. and Canada saw over $457 billion in GDP from cloud computing, with $58 billion specifically coming from cloud-enabled AI.
Right.
And Europe wasn't too far behind, with over $321 billion and $30 billion, respectively.
Yeah, and those numbers are only going to get bigger. By 2030, the US and Canada alone could see over $5.8 trillion in GDP from cloud adoption. And out of that, cloud-enabled AI is projected to contribute over $857 billion.
Wow.
This isn't just about economic growth, though. It's about global competitiveness, too. Countries that fully embrace these technologies are setting themselves up for success in the coming decades.
It's really going to change the landscape of work as we know it.
Mm.
The potential for job creation and entirely new fields emerging is huge.
Absolutely. And it's not just about creating new jobs. It's about making existing jobs better. Think about it. AI could free people from those tedious, repetitive tasks and allow them to focus on more creative, more fulfilling work.
That's a great point. Now, another thing that caught my eye in the study was the focus on energy productivity. They actually suggested that cloud computing could make us more energy efficient.
Mhm.
I'll admit I was a little skeptical about that at first.
It is kind of counterintuitive, isn't it?
It is.
But it's actually pretty fascinating. Energy productivity isn't about using less energy. It's about getting more economic output for every single unit of energy we consume. And the study found that when a country increases its cloud adoption by just 10%, that could lead to an average increase of $14.57 per megawatt hour in energy productivity.
So we're talking about squeezing more out of each drop of energy, essentially.
Exactly. And ultimately, that translates to cost savings for businesses and a smaller environmental footprint.
Win-win, right? Definitely. Okay, so we've talked about the big picture impact, but what about some real-world examples?
Yeah.
The article mentioned a bunch of companies that are already using cloud computing and AI in some really innovative ways.
Yeah.
For example, Lyell and Moderna in healthcare.
Oh, those are great examples. They're using these technologies to develop groundbreaking new treatments and therapies, things that would have been unimaginable just a few years ago.
And there's also Blackboard and PBS in the education space, using cloud and AI to personalize learning and make education accessible to more people.
Yeah, it's incredible to think about how these technologies can break down those barriers to education. It's like putting the world's knowledge at everyone's fingertips, regardless of where they are.
Right, and the article even highlighted those entertainment giants like Prime Video, Netflix, and Disney+. They rely so heavily on cloud infrastructure to handle all that streaming content.
Can you imagine trying to manage all that data and bandwidth without the cloud?
It would be chaos.
It would be impossible. The cloud has completely transformed the way we consume entertainment. It's on demand and accessible on a global scale.
It really is. And it's not just those big companies either. The article also mentioned how companies like Delta Airlines and Ford are using cloud and AI to streamline their operations and improve customer experiences.
It's amazing how diverse the applications are, right? From optimizing flight routes to predicting maintenance needs, cloud and AI are revolutionizing how we travel and get around.
It's like we're living in the future.
I know, and it's all thanks to this incredible combination of cloud computing and AI.
It's a lot to take in. Why don't we pause here for a moment to let everyone process? We'll be back in a flash to explore even more examples and really unpack what this all means for the future.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about all those big established companies that are using cloud and AI. But the thing is, this tech isn't just for those big players.
Right. That's what I thought was so interesting. The article pointed out some companies like Airbnb, Lyft, Slack, Snap, Stripe, they basically came up in the cloud. They've completely reshaped their industries.
Exactly. It really shows how accessible this technology is becoming. You
Yeah.
don't need to be a huge corporation to harness the power of cloud and AI anymore. These startups are living proof that with a good idea and the right tools, anyone can disrupt things.
Yeah. The playing field's been leveled in a way.
Definitely.
Speaking of tools, the article mentioned that AI itself is already a multi-billion-dollar business for AWS.
It is, and it makes sense, right? If companies want to use AI to revolutionize their industries, they need the infrastructure to do it. AWS is providing that infrastructure and making it easy for companies of all sizes to get started.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense when you think about it that way. They even listed some of the big names that are already using those AWS AI and machine learning services.
Hmm.
Adidas, the New York Stock Exchange, Pfizer, Ryanair, Toyota. It's a pretty impressive list.
It's like a who's who of global industry. It just highlights how widespread the adoption of AI is becoming. These companies are using AI for everything. I mean, optimizing manufacturing processes, improving financial forecasting, you name it.
It really feels like that idea of energy productivity we were talking about earlier. It's all about finding those efficiencies and maximizing the resources we have.
Exactly.
Example.
That's a key theme that runs through all of this. Cloud computing and AI aren't just about making things faster or cooler. It's really about fundamentally changing how we work, how we learn, how we live, how we interact with the world around us.
It is. And it kind of leads to a big question, too. What does this mean for the future? We've talked about the potential for economic growth, the new jobs that could be created, those exciting advancements across different industries. But are there any potential downsides? Things we need to be cautious about?
That's a really important point. With any major technological shift, there are going to be challenges, right? Considerations that we need to address. It's so important to have these open and honest conversations about the potential impact of these technologies and to make sure we're using them responsibly, ethically.
Yeah, we can't get caught up in just the shiny, exciting parts.
Yeah.
We need to be mindful of those consequences and make sure we're taking steps to mitigate any negative impacts.
Absolutely. We have to be proactive in addressing concerns about job displacement, about data privacy, those ethical implications of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, for sure. And making sure those benefits are accessible to everyone. We don't want to create a digital divide where only certain groups are benefiting.
Right. It's about making sure these advancements serve humanity as a whole, not just a select few.
Absolutely. So while that potential is huge, we need to approach this tech responsibly and think carefully about those long-term implications. What are some of the key things we should be thinking about as individuals and as a society?
Well, I think one crucial aspect is education. We need to equip people with the skills and knowledge to thrive in a world where cloud computing and AI are so prevalent. That means technical skills, but also things like critical thinking, problem solving, adaptability.
So it's not just about the coding, it's about being able to think critically to adapt to new situations.
Exactly. And another key area is collaboration. We need to foster partnerships between governments, between industry leaders, researchers, educators. We need to make sure these technologies are developed and deployed responsibly, ethically.
That's a massive undertaking.
It is, but it's also an incredibly exciting opportunity. We have the chance to shape the future, to create a world where technology empowers us to solve some of humanity's biggest challenges.
I like that positive outlook. It's not just about economic growth or the cool tech. It's about making the world better.
That's the goal, and we're just getting started.
This has been so fascinating. I'm sure our listeners are loving this too. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
We've been talking a lot about this big picture stuff, trillions of dollars, global impact, these huge companies. But I think it's important to bring it back down to earth a little bit,
Yeah.
back down to the individual level.
You're so right. It's easy to get lost in all those big numbers and forget that this technology ultimately impacts real people. It's going to change our lives.
Exactly. So let's think about, what this means for you, the listener. How can you prepare for this future that's, coming right at us where cloud computing and AI are going to be so central to everything?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to be prepared for, all the changes that are coming?
I think the first thing is to embrace lifelong learning. The skills that are in high demand today might be totally obsolete tomorrow. So be curious, stay informed, and constantly be learning new things.
Yeah, it's like what we were talking about before. It's not just about technical skills, but it's also about being adaptable,
Hmm.
having a growth mindset.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to experiment. I mean, there are so many resources available online, free courses, open source projects. Just dip your toes in, see what sparks your interest in the world of cloud computing and AI.
It really is like a giant playground for anyone who wants to learn and explore. And, who knows, you might discover a new passion for something you never even thought you'd be interested in.
Exactly. The possibilities are truly limitless. And as these technologies keep evolving, there are going to be new opportunities that we can't even imagine right now.
That's what makes it so exciting. It's not about reaching a specific destination. It's a journey, continuous discovery and innovation.
It is. And it's a journey that we're all taking together. The
Yeah.
future of cloud computing and AI isn't being shaped by, a select few. It's being shaped by all of us.
That is a powerful thought. So
Uh-huh.
what can our listeners do to, actually participate in shaping this future?
Engage. Engage in the conversation. Talk to your
Yeah.
friends, your family, your colleagues about these technologies. Share what you're thinking, your ideas, and just, help raise awareness about the potential benefits and the challenges.
Yeah. Have those open and honest conversations we were talking about.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to, ask questions, challenge assumptions, and demand that these technologies are developed and used responsibly.
We can all play a part in making sure this technology is used for good.
We can. Absolutely. The future is in our hands.
Well, this has been such an incredible deep dive. We've covered so much, from the economic impact to lifelong learning to the ethical development of these technologies.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We hope you found it as fascinating and thought-provoking as we did.
We encourage you to keep learning, keep exploring, and stay engaged.
And be sure to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the most interesting and impactful topics out there. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep shaping the future.